All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be the fight preview for the Canelo Alvarez versus Daniel Jacobs middleweight championship bout. And for those of you cats out there who follow boxing, you'll know that there are two types of prominent fighters, that being the world champion type and the cash cow type. Now, Canelo Alvarez happens to be a bit of both. And if you're Daniel Jacobs, a top contender, albeit a championship level fighter himself, you're happy about that. Because when you defeat a Canelo Alvarez, not only will you get the belt, but you'll also get the prestige and maybe, hopefully, siphon some of that cash cow power away from Canelo. Now, Daniel Jacobs will never be able to siphon all of the cash cow power away from Canelo. There are very few fighters who are able to do that. Going all the way back to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a prominent fighter who was also a cash cow fighter. He was a championship fighter who was a cash cow fighter. Sugar Ray Leonard was a cash cow fighter who was also a championship fighter. Then you go down to Mike Tyson, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, now Canelo Alvarez. That's pretty much the linkage of the cash cow fighters for the past 40 years or so. Daniel Jacobs is hoping to put a chink in the armor of Canelo Alvarez as the quote-unquote cash cow fighter. So we'll see what happens. Do I think that Daniel Jacobs can win a decision against Canelo Alvarez? No, I do not. He's going to have to be able to score at least 2 knockdowns in this fight in order for him to win a decision against Canelo Alvarez. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Daniel Jacobs has an incredible story, from rags to rags and back to riches again. Jacobs was as hot as any prospect in boxing when he suffered 2 devastating and likely connected losses. First, with the title on the line, he couldn't get up from a vicious shot by Dmitry Pirog.
Let me say this. Dmitry Pirog whooped that boy ass. And you could talk about how maybe Daniel Jacobs had the cancerous tumor in his spine from back then. You can say that if you want to. I know that boy Dmitry Pirog beat that boy's ass. He outboxed him completely and totally in the few rounds that they fought. And I could tell from round 1 that Daniel Jacobs knew that he was in trouble. Because fighters know when they're in the ring with a fighter who just has a little bit too much for them, whether it's craft, power, skill, or what have you. He knew that when he got into the ring with Pirog, after about 30 seconds, he's like, oh, wow, this guy's style is not going to be something that I'm going to be able to figure out. And if I don't score a knockdown against him, I'm going to be in big trouble. Pirog could fight, man. Unfortunately, he's no longer around. But that boy could get down.
Pirog. And then, well, I'll let him tell the story.
I was diagnosed with cancer after I found out my grandmother died right before my fight of cancer. I was diagnosed a couple months right after. So, I remember being overseas and my legs started becoming weak, and I started to realize that something is wrong with me. And when I got back home, we went to the doctors and realized that I had a large tumor that was wrapped around my spine, cutting the circulation of my nerves. So in about a week's time, 2 weeks' time, I went from walking with a cane to walking with crutches to walking with a walker to being in a wheelchair.
To not walking.
Yeah, 2 weeks. So that's how fast it was. And when I got back home, I was like, wow, something has to happen. What about my life? What about my career? We went to the doctors. They misdiagnosed me at first because they gave me an x-ray. So we were under the belief that, if we were taking the pills that they were giving us, that we would be okay. But it kept getting worse.
That's because a lot of these doctors don't know what the hell they're doing. And I've worked in a hospital. A lot of these doctors are nothing but cokeheads. All they are a lot of rich kids who were forced to go to either medical school or law school by their parents so that their parents would have something to brag about amongst their rich friends. A lot of these people who claim to be doctors, their passion is not in it. And if your passion is not in it, you're not going to be very good at it. That's why you have so many misdiagnoses. And it almost cost this brother his life. He's a very impressive individual, this dude here, Daniel Jacobs.
So I went to the doctor for the last time, and I said, hey, you guys got to do an MRI. There's something wrong with me. So they did an MRI, and they seen that there was this baseball-sized tumor that was wrapped around, and it chipped my spine. So literally at that particular point, I was paralyzed from the waist down.
So you don't ever connect.
Look at that damn scar going right down the middle of his back. Wow. And the man almost passed away because of a misdiagnosis.
The two that I've heard you, and you're not trying to make excuses, but it seems reasonable to me that you were dealing with 2 things in that Pirog fight. One, the death of your grandmother.
Yeah.
a couple days before, and then two, who knows how that was already affecting you physically?
Very true. Well, I've had...
Well, that's hypothetical. At the end of the day, it's highly possible that the early onset of that cancerous tumor may have affected him. But from what I saw in that fight, it was a skill disparity there. Pirog just totally flummoxed him from the opening bell. He had no idea what was going on, and then he felt the power.
I've had numerous conversations with my coach at that particular time, and I always say, Andre, I got issues with my back. My back is not feeling 100%, and he was always equate that to me making excuses.
Damn, Dre. Messed up, man. The man is dying of cancer.
Right.
That's why, especially with a top-notch athlete like that, every once in a while, intermittently, they should have a full body scan done on them, because you never know what's wrong with you.
But, it turned out to be the worst possible scenario. And, we tackled that situation head on. Once I found out what I had, what I was diagnosed with, I started to look at it as just another opponent. And
That's right. God bless you, brother.
I took it head on, and we became the victor. It was tough. The process of learning how to walk again, physically, being weak, and not even being able to lift a dumbbell. That's how
Doctors tell you could fight again?
They told me I would never be able to fight again. Those were their exact words. You have to look for another career or something to bring some success to you, because boxing is out.
What was it like financially after you're told you might die?
Yeah.
Even if you don't, you ain't going to box again.
Yeah.
And you don't have your title. You lost that in the ring.
Yeah.
And your grandmother's gone, obviously. And how's your financial situation at that point?
Well, it was all downhill from that point on. Once I realized that I had cancer, we had to come out of pocket with a lot of different things. It was the worst turn for me ever.
But the best lesson for you. Thank goodness you made it through.
Wasn't the best at managing money at the time, with little advice, if any. So I had to actually sell my car, had to move back into Brownsville, being a top 5, top 10 contender in the game at that point. So I had to suck my pride up and move back in with Mom to physically get the help that I needed. And just that period of time, it really taught me a lot about myself. But it was so hard. And as a man, especially the success that I've gained and being who I was at that time, it was very, very prideful to deal with that.
I feel you on that, man. Wow. I can only imagine that shit. You have a cancerous tumor wrapped around your spine, and you don't know if you're going to live until tomorrow. Very strong dude here.
So there had to come a turning point at some point.
Yeah.
Where you knew, okay, I'm cancer free.
Yeah.
Okay, I can walk. All right, I can fight. Tell me about that.
Well, I've always said that I wanted to get back into the sport of boxing. It was my dream. It was my place of happiness. But I wouldn't put myself in a position if I wasn't 100%. So I remember going through all these different trainings in New York, coming back with Andre. I told Andre, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to do this again. He thought I was crazy for even coming down to the gym with my back brace and my cane. But he helped me, and we was there every day, and every day we would make small progression.
Thank goodness the Most High gave him that passion for boxing, because I'm sure that also assisted him with the therapy for his recovery from that cancerous tumor.
And then finally, months later, I was like, you know what, Jerry? I think I'm ready for a fight. So we called our doctors, we called everybody. We got the clearance, which took a long time because, like I said, the doctors thought I was crazy for even coming back to the gym.
To hell with the damn doctors. Most of those guys, once again, a lot of these doctors don't know shit, man.
I was very worried. I was very scared because I didn't think I would get back into a place where I would be able to take punches.
But eventually you did.
Yeah.
You started winning fights. Mm-hmm. And you became a top contender.
Yeah.
And you get a shot at Peter Quillen, Kid Chocolate, another Brooklyn fighter, another New York fighter, and I think he was favored going into that fight, if I'm not mistaken.
He was the champion at the time. He was also one of the strongest competitors that I've ever faced.
Kid Chocolate has no defense whatsoever, but his punching power is amazing.
He was knocking out guys left and right. He sent Winky Wright into retirement. This guy was really good. So going into the fight, it was brought up and promoted as the Battle of Brooklyn. And that was a very exciting time for me because I knew deep down inside I sparred Peter Quillen maybe a couple years back, and I got the best of him. So all this facade that everybody was seeing, I was just like, man.
And then it was ding, round one. Then what happened?
I showed the world exactly what I had. And that grit, that true talent inside showed up in the... I was surprised, too, that it happened so fast, but...
First round, you heard him. And are you thinking...
Yeah, that fight was amazing. I was a bit surprised by it, but just thinking about it, when you have two fighters in a ring like that, and they both have amazing power, because Daniel Jacobs has great power in both hands as well, you kind of knew something like that could happen, especially since, as I stated, Peter Quillin is not a good defensive fighter. He's not someone who goes backwards. So something was going to happen early in that fight.
Thinking he's not getting out of this round.
Yes, because with a guy like that, I remember him throwing a punch at me, and it nearly grazed me, but the wind, I said, I cannot get hit by this guy.
You know who else said that? George Foreman, when he was fighting Joe Frazier. Even though George Foreman is known as being the fighter who knocked Joe Frazier down, I believe, 6 times in their fight in Kingston, Jamaica, he stated that Joe Frazier threw a left hook that just whistled past his face, and he said, if I don't knock this guy out soon, he's going to hurt me real bad.
Put to myself inside the fight. I was like, wow, okay, how do we do this? How do we survive round 1? And then I just hit him with a shot. And what, is he hurt? I thought he was like, you know, playing around, but then we went after him. My coach Andre was like, get up! He was yelling, you know, rumble. That's how cold. Rumble! And we rumbled. We were putting out punches and bunches. I hit him with a nice overhand right. The referee seen that he was incoherent. Fight was over.
And as a result of that win and your continuing ascension, you eventually become what was supposed to be an excellent opponent, but still an opponent for Triple G.
Yeah.
Gennady Golovkin at the time was considered by some pound for pound the best, but among the best.
And I give Golovkin credit for taking that fight against Daniel Jacobs, because those other top champions in the middleweight, super middleweight, those weight divisions, they know how dangerous Daniel Jacobs is. So I give Gennady Golovkin a lot of credit for taking that fight. I also give Canelo a lot of credit for taking this Daniel Jacobs fight. But Canelo deserves a lot of credit, period, because when you look at his resume, he's never ducked top fighters. He's never ducked top black fighters who normally are extremely skillful and have very fast feet. If there's one weakness that Canelo has, is that his feet are very slow. He has great head movement and great waist movement. He's a very good defensive fighter who actually can fight with his back against the ropes because he's so good defensively. But if there's one weakness that Canelo does have, is that he has very slow feet. So I give him credit for fighting fighters who have fast feet.
And certainly a dominant knockout artist.
Very true.
Who the only reason he hadn't already beaten all the top middleweights is because he hadn't gotten a crack at all the top middleweights, even though he was champion.
Yeah.
Sergio Martinez ran from Triple G for about 3 years because he knew what was going to happen in that fight.
Yeah, it was a lot to digest too, because they had made him up to be the biggest puncher, the most powerful, the most strongest guy that I could ever face. So forget the challenges that I had.
Well, Gennady's going to go down as one of the top middleweights of all time. There's no doubt about that. He's up there in that same realm with Carlos Monzon and Marvin Hagler and Bernard Hopkins, Ray Robinson, so on and so forth, as going down as one of the elite middleweight champions to ever fight.
Prior to, I was getting in the biggest battle that I have ever faced in my career. So that was a challenge in itself, just digesting that. And then when I went in there, you know, the belief started to grow, and you can see it round by round, and I'm just looking at this guy like he's not cracked up to what everybody made him to be. And the belief started to grow, and I started to become very more confident. I started to push him back, and that's when you guys got a chance to really see what is inside Daniel Jacobs, because you've seen a Gennady Golovkin that you've never seen before. Be pushed back for the first time, not land his power punches like he's used to, and then we minimize Golovkin to a jab. So that, for me,
Golovkin has a great jab, though.
Me said a lot. Regardless of if people say I won the fight or if they say Golovkin won the fight, it was a close, competitive fight. But at the end, I gained the respect of the fans, and that's what I'm happy of.
And now you have Canelo Alvarez,
Yes,
which is a bigger payday than Gennady Golovkin.
Yeah.
But a guy who is in his prime. Triple G, some people already whispering, maybe he's a little old.
Yeah.
Canelo ain't. Canelo is a great fighter who has also improved as time went on.
Let me say this. The only reason why I don't have Canelo at the top of my personal pound-for-pound list is once again because of those slow feet. When I look at Lomachenko, when I look at Terrence Crawford, they have everything that you would want a fighter to have. They have heart, they have skill, they have power, and they have great feet. Canelo has all those things, and he has a great resume as well. But his feet are very slow.
In his prime, the lineal middleweight champion of the world,
Yeah.
a top 3 pound-for-pound kind of fighter, who also seems to get the benefit of the doubt from the judges. Austin.
Yes, because he's the cash cow. That's why I started this video with that statement about the cash. When you're a top contender like a Daniel Jacobs or someone who has been a belt holder in the past, of course you carry into a fight, even a championship fight, your name. But when you're going against that cash cow fighter, all the way back to Muhammad Ali and Ray Leonard and Mike Tyson, De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, those type of guys, you have to beat them. You have to beat them almost severely. You have to beat them authoritatively in order to get the decision from the judges, because there's a lot riding on the continuance of the rulership, per se, of that cash cow fighter. That's what's known as being an in-house fighter. Remember that Floyd Mayweather damn near got robbed against Canelo Alvarez because they were desperate to force the transition from Floyd Mayweather over to Canelo Alvarez, and they knew that if Canelo were to get the decision against Floyd, that would bolster him as the new it guy. And I promise you that had Canelo gotten a gift decision against Floyd, Floyd would have never gotten a rematch against him. Never. Oscar De La Hoya would never have let Canelo Alvarez fight an immediate rematch against Floyd Mayweather had they been able to pull off that heist. So that's the environment that Daniel Jacobs is going to be entering into tomorrow night against Canelo Alvarez. He's going to be entering into a hostile environment where not only is he going to have to fight against Canelo, I'm sure that most of the crowd will be against him, but that's not a problem because they cannot get in the ring. But also the judges are going to be against him. Most of the even rounds are going to go to Canelo. So that's why I state that Daniel Jacobs is going to have to thoroughly outbox him. He's probably going to have to knock him down at least once just to have a chance to win that fight.
Trout, there was Landy Lara. Could have gone either way. I thought he won and he got the decision. Floyd Mayweather, he lost almost every round. One judge had it a draw.
Right.
Triple G, the first fight, he seemed to maybe draw, maybe lose. He got a draw. Second fight, maybe draw, maybe win. He got the win.
What are you insinuating?
You know damn well what he's saying. He's saying that your ass gonna get robbed if the fight is even close. That's what he's saying.
I'm saying that can you win the fight on points if it's a 7 rounds to 5 kind of thing? Is that how you're preparing yourself mentally for this fight? Or do you believe you must beat him decisively?
I do believe I have to beat him decisively, but that's always been my goal because even before the Gennady Golovkin fight, I never wanted controversial decisions. I always wanted to be the man in the public's eyes. So that's my mentality going into the ring with Canelo. But from Canelo's past, you know, you have to keep that in the back of your mind because the fact that it's even the thing that favors that decisions going his way is absurd.
Well, of course. I mean, let's analyze the situation for a moment. Even before we address how he looks physically, we know that he's extremely skilled. But you're also talking about a fighter who's from Mexico, so he has the Hispanic audience, but he looks like a white boy, so he's going to have a lot of the Caucasian audience. Then he takes on black fighters. So he has pretty much everything wrapped up in one package that makes him extremely marketable. He's highly skilled, he's cross-cultural, and he has the complexion for the connection. So you can't get much better than that.
Even though he is one of the best fighters that I'm facing, I am also a very challenging task for Canelo.
Absolutely.
Because he has never seen anything like me inside the ring. He might have faced similarities, maybe in height or maybe in power or skill, but not all those things all together in one night.
The main thing that I have to say about Daniel Jacobs is hopefully he does not get knocked down early in the fight and then start to doubt himself. I hope that he stays aggressive even if he gets knocked down, but stay aggressive responsibly. But anyway, that's basically it on that. Good luck to Daniel Jacobs. I'm going to pick Canelo Alvarez by 12-round decision. I do believe that it's going to be a disputed decision. We'll see what happens. I will be rooting for Daniel Jacobs, but the only opportunity that he's going to have to win this fight is if he knocks down Canelo at least once and outboxes him in 8 other rounds. But as of right now, I'm going to pick Canelo by decision. So peace.